Today, Bill and I are going to talk to you about Andragons, the shape of learning. I'm Lorraine Story Mockford, or LoriVonne Lester, here in Second Life and across the Metaverse. And this is my partner in crime, AgileBill Firehawk, or Bill Krebs in his physical incarnation. We also acknowledge the inspiration and aspiration from John, our Pathfinder Lester, in helping us to develop this idea. As we've explored teaching and learning in immersive virtual environments, we've noticed that these tend to take on various shapes. This is a term that Bill has coined, Andragons, or the shape of adult learning. Specifically, shapes used in instructional venues within 3D learning spaces, like this one. Our instructional venues, oops, hang on here, I just my note card got to the wrong place.
Oh no.
There we go. Okay, I'm good now. So specifically, the shapes used in venues like this. So Andragons may be more or less realistic, and they're always immersive. And I would argue that Andragons apply to all learning, not just these virtual spaces, and that it is regardless of age and environment. There is significant research in both the physical and virtual learning environments that the design of the classroom, whatever that may be, contributes to the learning both positively and negatively. In early childhood education, the Reggio Emilia practice speaks about the environment in which the learning is taking place. They call that the third teacher. 3 teachers in a learning space: the teacher, the student, and the environment. Therefore, teachers need to structure the environment in order to contribute to the learning. It needs to be considered and thought about that. Maybe everything we ever needed to learn really was in kindergarten. The significance of the environment provides a foundation for the design of learning spaces, and this is really what we want to talk about today. How do we choose the Andragon to use? What does that look like? Is it possible to create a catalog of learning shapes that can be matched to a given lesson or a class of lessons? And as an instructional designer, is it something that I can use in designing my learning space? Are there designs that work better than others? Consider the wonderful, immersive, problem-based learning examples that Bronwyn Stuckey shared with us yesterday. Professional facilitators and great teachers consider the design of the venue when designing the learning. What are the ways that we match this to the learning activities that happen there? Today we'll explore some of these Andragons with you and ask that you engage with us along the way. So do feel free to ask questions. We will probably make you move around a little bit too. So we'll see what happens. Thank you. I'm turning it over to Bill.
Oh, thank you so much, LoriVonne. Yeah, well said. And I love that third teacher. Very cool. Okay. So let me show you a couple pictures to illustrate what LoriVonne said. What we're doing right now is this example on the right. It shows a lecture with a PowerPoint or slides. So I have bullets, I have a screen projector. Look familiar? Well, let's try something different. What if we used a campfire instead of those wooden chairs? Gento was kind enough to test one of those wooden chairs. You guys have bean bags, but you're stuck. You're stuck in your location. The position in which you sit has some social meaning. You guys are stuck and facing us, facing me, which is sage on stage. That means you're supposed to listen to us. What is the social contract with the campfire? What do you guys think? What does it mean when you're in a circle? Yes, everyone's voice matters. Love that. Equality? Excellent. We are all equal. Thank you. Circle facilitates sharing. Yes. Intimate. Yes. I love that. So I think that's important. That's your third teacher. Sit like a lady. Well, that's important, right? You know, how do you feel in that space? I'm going to move these pictures down. Show you some other pictures. If you click on this bottom one here, you'll get a note card, by the way. Okay. Did you see I used my body language when I was listening to you to respond? I kneeled down on the ground. I'm teaching your subconscious. I'm telling you I'm listening. But now I'm going to talk, and I'm going to use my body to show. I'm changing slides. By the way, I'm sitting on this thing here. Let me make it glow. That will give you a note card. In this picture, we show what could be a game. You may have played a game like Mousetrap or the Game of Life. It has pieces, like a chessboard. You could make your lesson a game board. How would you design your lesson to be represented on a game board? To be honest, this thing started off being bigger. Right now I'm in a third-person view. I can see the whole board. When I started this, it was a factory. What I mean by a factory is a first-person experience. I could walk around from room to room. And just like an industrial factory, it's important where we put things. Each room has a purpose, and we try to optimize the time between tasks, the time between purposes. Put the objects you need in the room you need, make it a workspace. It's a factory. So I was using this factory to teach project management. It could also be a game board. So, without judging whether this is working or not, whether it's good or bad, I assert to you, I think, it's a different Andragon. The slides you're seeing, the campfire, the game board, the chessboard, or a factory, I think those are all categories of Andragons. So that's a good thing. The reason I want to categorize them is I want to be able to research them. I want to get data on what works and what doesn't. That's my goal here. And I also want to be able to share or compare research with what you do. How do you teach your stuff? What does it look like, right? So that's why I want some similar language. The slide I'm showing here is a taxonomy or hierarchy. I think they're all descended from spatial bills. What I mean by that is it's not just a slide. It's got a X, Y, 2 or 3-dimensional quality, like a floor plan. That's at the top here. The other one is designed for learning. So you can have those shapes, but they're designed to play an adventure game. That's fine. Game levels, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about these shapes designed for education. Some of those education pieces may involve techniques like gamification, learning archetypes, like a treasure hunt. A treasure hunt looks like you're in a 3D land. But you know, that's just a kind of a technique. And so it's great to have, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about points. We're not talking about badges, much as I love those things. So when you see SL, you think, oh, that's a game. Well, not really. It's a platform. There's no rules. There's no badges. What we're talking about is the architecture, the architectural shape here of what we're trying to do. Okay. So that's where Andragons fits. Let me give you another exciting example. There we go. Okay. So on your left, this picture shows another lesson. I'm going to show you pictures of planets. I could lecture you about planets and show you a picture. If we do that, we fail. Epic fail. Right? Don't do that. Having you guys sit here in this fine classroom with me showing slides is what I'm trying to teach us not to do. Don't do that. It's bad. Shame on us, right? It's horrible. We know better, and we're sitting here where you can't move, and things are flat. You know, I could argue about pictures or text, which is better. I think they're both terrible. So let's see what else we could do. How can we make this better? What if I put the planet Mars right in the middle of the classroom? There you go. Now I'm taking advantage of the 3D space. Here's Mars. Okay. So our lesson is about the solar system. I'm not going to show you a picture. I'm going to show you a model. I feel like I'm missing something. What planet are you guys from? You live on Earth, right? Okay. I think we can deal with that. I came prepared. I thought you might say that. So I just happen to have the Earth pre-resed for you. Okay. It'll take a while to res in, I'm sure. So we have Earth, right? That's another possibility. What do you notice about these two planets right now? Good point. Should they be the same size? Yes. One has more water on it, doesn't it? Should Mars be a little smaller? Like, did I get this the right size? Good. So there's more. Does Earth have clouds on it? Because really, if we were to see it from space, we're not going to see just the land masses. We're going to see some clouds. Now, would this be a better representation? So I like that. I like that a little better. So I'm still using the... but you know, there's still something bothering me about this. What about the sun? Like, should this be visible? Can I see the Earth from both views? What if it was night, right? So maybe we shouldn't be able to see the Earth because it's nighttime. All we should see is something that's dark. The point to this very bad lesson on the solar system is that I'm using the 3D models. I'm not using slides. The challenge I have for you is to help us get data that says when this works, when it's better, why does it work, what's a good build, what's a bad build, that kind of stuff. You know, there's still something that bothers me about this model. I see that the shadow is on one side of the planet. So which way is the sunlight coming from? What do you think? Right, the sunny side. Where's the sun? Exactly. Well, I'm going to say that the sun has to be on this side by olive tree here. Because it would be casting its shadow on the other side of the Earth. So knowing what you know about the solar system, do you guys see any issues or problems with my diagram of the solar system right now? Yeah, good one. Excellent. That's right. So right away, I mean, I could have had a slide that says the Earth is, 2 million miles from the Mars or whatever. I don't know the number. But maybe it's more interesting to do two things. Number one is to make a model, a 3D build of it. Number two is to throw in some cognitive dissonance. Like I'm actually purposefully making some mistakes and to have you point them out for me. That cognitive dissonance trick is not an andragon. That's a learning technique. But using the shapes here, like the sun, that is an andragon. I've made a, what is it? I don't know what you call it. It's a model. It's a model of the solar system, and I think we're using it to teach. So do you notice how Mars is rotating? Should the sun rotate? I actually don't know the answer to that. The good. Okay, interesting. I didn't know. See, I learned something every day. The other thing about this is my Earth is wrong because I've put which is closer to the sun, Mars or Earth? What do you guys think? Right. I put them in the wrong order. Now, I'd like to say I planned it that way, but that was actually a mistake I noticed when I put together my poster session. So you can come to my poster, LoriVonne's poster, the partial, the poster sessions, and you can look at this. But it occurs to me that really the sun should be on the other side like this. Now, you may not teach astronomy, but how could you do a similar style lesson for what you teach? But wait, there's more. What if I didn't create the model for you? What if I gave you the planets and had you do a model? If you create the model yourself, that's another style. And that's kind of the ultimate in how do you spell that? Constructivist education. Like, that's my favorite style of teaching, constructivist education. Now, always looking for a pun, I think we can create, and I talked a little bit about this with Lucas Gillespie. I think it has another meaning, but Constructionists, you are literally creating the things. So if you click on this glowing board here, you'll get a note card that actually has these planets in it. And you can put them out in any order. You can, change the size. You can script them to rotate. Whatever you like. Constructionist. Or constructivist. Okay, talk to me about the moon. I had a problem with this one because I didn't know about the rotation properties of the moon. That would be another example of something you put in your lesson. LoriVonne, what do you think? Is that an Andragon?
How do you figure out about the moon? Would that be an Andragon? Is that
No,
what
I'm
you're
just thinking, did we show 4 interesting examples of Andragons? One was the model, one was the slides. What do you think?
Yes, I think we have, Bill.
Good. Yes, and it was a loaded question. Thank you. Okay. And you can get those planets by clicking on the glowing thing. Now, I've also seen Marley at work. Marley's with us today over here, and she did some very cool stuff with Gestalt training. I don't know if I spelled it correctly. But she's using these objects in a completely different way that I find very effective. They're at the Whole Brain or Inspiration Island. I think that's another class of classroom, another style of classroom learning, another category. That's really what I mean. What have we left out? What shapes have you guys seen that you like? So, LoriVonne, that's what I wanted to describe, and then I wanted to turn it over to the class for discussion. What works for you guys? In fact, that's going to be such a long pause. I'm going to sit down while you guys think about that. My goal is to mine your brains to help create this catalog for the community. And so when we research something, we research a class, to see if it's good or bad, we'll be able to say, reference these common Andragons. I used the campfire Andragon, and my learners improved by 10%. I used the slide Andragon, and my learners saw no difference. I used a game board Andragon, and learning went up by 30%. That's my goal. In fact, in the note card we give you, there's a link to our paper, and there's a link to a spreadsheet that you can edit if you want to add some of your own Andragons. But for right now, just shout them out. What do you think?
Yes, Bill, that's a great one. The models like the Globe Theater, of course, I think we all know that one, but there's others as well.
Have you guys seen that? I love that. Like, just going in there, I didn't realize they had like a pit underneath the stage. That makes sense. They actually have this pit for the prop crew for Shakespeare's theater, and you can go down inside and they, res different devices for their plays. They must have had that back in the day. And I immediately learned that by seeing that. I thought it was so interesting. Have you guys seen? So what if like Val, Librarian, and friends, they have a whole Camelot Quest treasure hunt thing. Is the whole build, would you classify that as a shape or Andragon? Or building by building? Yeah. There's got to be a bunch out there that you like, and some that you hate. I'm not sure they all will fit. How about a courtroom? You could have a trial of two scientific ideas in a courtroom shape. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, one of the things that we think about as the categories of Andragons are that they have a social focus,
Mm-hmm.
a process focus.
You must have read the paper.
I think I did, yeah. Oh, Carolyn's got it, okay. And an object focus,
Mm-hmm.
a metaphor focus, and transport focus. So if you think about them in those frameworks, then it helps a little bit to try with some of the categories that we're looking for. Oh, what was Mook's point? Mook said, Andragons, like any teaching aid, technique, tool, need to be culturally and socially contextualized. Exactly. That's exactly right. And that's
good one.
We put it into those frameworks of social and cultural.
I love it. So if I'm an American growing up in the 60s, and if you say holodeck, I exactly know what you mean because I've watched Star Trek. If I take that to India, and a lot of my students are adults that, grew up in India, I'm not sure they've seen the same TV shows. So there's a cultural thing with that. Absolutely. If I say Knights of the Round Table, did I just lose half the planet? And some people know that because we had to read King Arthur or something in English course. But if you're from another country, it might annoy you, or you may not know what I'm talking about. So I think that was a great point about the cultural context.
think that's one of the lessons that we learn as teachers too, Bill, as
Mm-hmm.
as you know, those students, they just get younger and younger. And it's not that we're aging at
Isn't that
all.
weird? I've noticed that
It's so
too.
weird. But they also have a whole different social context, social and cultural context from what we may have grown up with.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think it's really interesting because slides are not a good enough reason to pay for all the virtual training and hardware. Because it's maybe easier for adults anyway to just go use a program like WebEx. But I think that if you use these shapes, we're going to be different. The problem I have is I don't have enough data. I don't have enough research data that says A is better than B. The planet exercise I did, I don't know if that was any better than just giving you a slide that just flat out said, hey, sun, Earth, Mars. And it may depend on your learning style. If you're a hyperactive guy like me, getting up and walking around is great. But some people are literary. They would prefer to just sit there, right? And kind of, well, just let me read the answer. For them, that's good. That's Howard Gardner. And there's some debate about whether that's actually correlated with research in the classroom. Is their learning styles, is that really a context where that works? And so that's why I think it's important to get data on this stuff. And my fear is that I'm leaving out some categories that you guys know of, like a sports arena. I didn't mention that yet. Is that another Andragon? So I hope that we all can present in a couple years on which Andragons are good and which are bad, and we'll have numbers. I'm taking some courses from the University of West of England. Liz was nice enough to come today. She's hiding in the back row. But I learned a lot from those courses and some of the research stuff. How do you do the research properly? That was from UE, University of West of England. So I hope that we can put some numbers around these concepts. And it's really important today because right now I can take the moon and I can move it up on the fly. I can turn the moon a different color to highlight it. I could make it glow and I could turn it, blue or something. What if there's water on the moon? If we invest billions of dollars in hardware, virtual reality, Oculus Rift, if we invest all that money so that I can see it like in stereo, 3D, I'm so excited to have stereo. Well, Ebby said yesterday that it's going to be a build, upload, and then run process. It's a different process. So that was the longest sentence I ever made. What I meant was it's bad because everyone's going to put on their Oculus Rift. I won't be able to build in real time on the fly. When I learned to program, it was in BASIC and APL, which were interpreted languages. I could change things on the fly. The other courses that I hated were like COBOL and Fortran, and C. You had to compile everything. You had to get it right, and then you'd run the program. This is analogous. Here, I can say, you know what? I think the Earth here should be maybe a little bluer or something like that. I could change it blue or red or yellow. I can do that and do that together. In fact, I can give you permissions and you can edit these same objects with me at the same time. We're going to lose that. We're going to lose that ability because of this Oculus Rift thing. That's the problem, because to get the performance you need so you don't throw up like I do when you try to wear the Oculus Rift, they're going to have everything done, built, and then later run it, build, upload, run. How does that affect your learning shapes and your Andragons? And how does that affect our research? Because we just took away our ability to have the four-dimensional Andragon. not just a model, not just a lovely model of the solar system. It's something I built with layman's skills. I didn't use Maya. And it's something you could build with me together right now. You know, if we were in a sandbox, I gave you the planets, right? You know, you click on the screen over here on your right, behind Gentle. That will give you a note card with the planets. You can build those in real time. So we need research numbers to say which is best and which seems like it should work, but the research doesn't really show that it does help.
Yes, Bill, and there's some interesting comments that have been coming up in the chat as well. So Gentle said, is this a plea for foundational educational research to provide justification for the use of virtual worlds as educational tools? She said, I'm sure that research would have important implications for bricks and mortar classroom instruction as well. And yes, I think so very much, Gentle, that the idea is that we do it's about learning. I read a really good article yesterday about, can we just stop saying online learning or virtual learning and just talk about learning? That was from Gentle.
I like that. That's great. And the answer is totally. Because, you know, I go to work every day. I have friends, like I had to fly from my home in North Carolina to Manhattan, New York. So I stayed there for a month to work with, to teach adults. And these guys would and ladies would come in from New Jersey. It was a 2-hour commute for them. And what we would do at the most expensive real estate you can imagine, it was right there on Broadway Street, is we would sit all day on WebEx calls. Nothing against WebEx, you know, great tool. But oh my gosh, you know, that was 4 hours out of their day to go somewhere to watch slides on a flat screen. And I know better. It's just killing me. It's like, but I can't convince them that this is better without numbers. And so, yes, Gentle, this is a plea for educational research, kind of use it or lose it, that don't just teach with slides, teach with cool models, but not just because it's cool. We need to always continue building the research body of knowledge. Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff. And again, it's about how we use our spaces, right?
Yeah, that is the distinguishing characteristic between Google Hangouts. You know, I could teach this in Google Hangouts. You'd see my smiling, aging face, right? You get voice, you get my face, and you get my bullets on my slides. Prove to me with statistics whether that's better or worse than what I did here with the rotating planets. That's our goal. And I can probably do a bad job of building a sim. So like at the University of West of England, we went to a Macbeth thing. This is a good example. They did a lot of neat stuff to teach me the story of Macbeth. But if I'm building my own, how do I know what to do? Like, do I put in too much sound? How much is enough? So what are the good and bad practices? And what are the good and bad archetypes? So I don't have to start all over from scratch. I want to, you know, borrow what you guys have done that worked, you know, and I have to have numbers so I can convince people to let me try it. Thanks.
And if we can give our students the basic pieces to work with, and then they have to do the research afterwards. So about, does the moon rotate? Does the sun rotate? At what rate? What's the connection between all the rotations? They have to do the research, but we give them the pieces to build it.
Yeah, exactly. And so the learning moment here, I was trying to do this example for you guys this morning. So I put in a rotation script into the moon. I can't script on WebEx or Google Hangouts. So it looks funny to me. I think there's still something wrong with my model. Does the moon rotate this way? I think it's actually geosynchronous. I think there's a bump, and I think you're always facing the Earth. Like, you know, they say the dark side of the moon. The moon does not rotate like this. The moon, one side is always facing the Earth. So am I giving you better learning by illustrating that point in this manner? Or should I have just had a slide?
Yes, is it about memorizing something, or is it about actually working with it? And Mook makes a really good point. I'm just going to go back to that the observation that Mook's noticed that even in the past, teaching the very young, such as in kindergarten, back to kindergarten again, is often more Andragon-based than teaching older students who are piled into traditional classrooms. And it's that traditional classroom, right? So the young are provided with models, beds, circles, colors, differing environments, etc., to keep their attention. Once they get older, traditional classrooms remove all that stimulation. And what happens to the learning? And I think we just got our 10-minute warning, Bill. So I'm just going to...
Okay.
I know, right? It's been so fun. So it's not so much what we really are looking for from you folks today is to find out about the shapes. So then we can go on to the idea is that we want to look at. So we need to create that category, all the categories, start filling it in. We'll share it with the community, and then we want to go on from there to look at what are some of the ways that we can do research about it, so that instructional designers and teachers can say, this is a shape, this is a lesson that I'm looking for. What are some of the other ideas that people have looked at? So there you go. Bill's just given you our Google Doc. And if you have any ideas, please fill them in. So in conclusion, what's going to happen beyond the horizon? We believe that the Andragon taxonomy system will serve researchers and designers as a foundation for advancing their selection and evaluation of effective ways to use 3D immersive environments for education. I have it in the speakeasy, Carolyn. You can rest for a minute. Future work in this area could also describe the shape of the task. Is it a problem? Is it a lesson? What is it? Not just the shape of the solution. So, for example, Bill's solar system would be a good one for that. We also look at how these environments can be more responsive and change over time from the initial layout. We hope to bring together a catalog of these categories from which researchers can look at the effectiveness of particular Andragons in supporting learning. A list of known designs, while not definitive, can serve as a starting point for new or derivative builds. And we also want to thank you for your help today in adding to the catalog through your suggestions and ideas. They've been very valuable. Feel free to contact us further if you would like to discuss this more. Here's our contact information for Bill and for me. And Bill also on the note card has more ways to contact him. Are there any further questions?
Thank you guys so much for making this a cool community. It's awesome. Couldn't do it without all the stuff you guys do. Thanks, LoriVonne. Brilliant. So
Thank
Well
you,
done.
Bill. And you know what? We stand on the shoulders of giants, don't we? And a number of them are right here in this room.
Pretty much. I mean, the whole audience are the giants, but I know specific names here. But you guys are all good, and absolutely, we didn't make this stuff up. I think. I think we're just kind of learning from you and replaying it. Well, I hope you have a great conference. You know, yesterday was good, more fun today, and just go out there and less slides, or if you use slides, make that a conscious choice. And if you use some 3D thing, then share your numbers. How did it work? LoriVonne, what was the thing? There was a passport to the Metaverse. What was that about?
Yes, there is. There is the passport to the metaverse as part of the immersive experiences for VWBPE. And these are areas, these are wonderful examples of learning shapes, I think, that we can go to as part of the pre-conference experience and the post-conference experience. We have literature searches, we have microbiological sleuthing in 18th century or 19th century London. We have, of course, Lear is going to be looking at some big data and the Internet of Things with her team. Who else is in this room here that's doing stuff? I thought I saw Tunya earlier, of course, with her Hero Quest, looking at
The
those
Hero
historic
Quest was
ideas.
brilliant. Yeah, that was
It
great.
is. It's a really good example of an Andragon in and of itself that helps to not only guide the learning but share our experiences as well.
Well, we learn a lot from seeing each other's work. And so thinking about Andragons or just enjoying their simulation is a great thing. So, I encourage you. And I like it because it's so busy during the conference. I love being able to go before or after and see what you guys have done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Well, bravo. Is it time for me to pick up my planets?
Yay, thank you. Clean up, Bill.